welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. Number 9.
And this is The Fool.
Your 96 best place to listen to...
For 10 years.
Yes, for our 10th season of our mostly up-to-date...
And unqualified. And unrequested.
ramblings of the various issues in the world of sport.
Or something like that.
Hello everyone, welcome to our 10th season. I can't believe we've already been doing this for a decade, almost to the day, looking back at our old recordings.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So a year, 10 years and a month, maybe? Month and a half?
Yes.
It's the first
So in that time we've covered 3 World Cups, 2 Euros,
Ooh.
and two ODI World Cups, maybe 20 million T20 World Cups.
One every other day.
One every other day a week. 2 Test World Championships.
Yep.
And couple of Super Bowls and a few things here and there. Stuff.
Yeah, a few other things here and there. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely keeping our core content, the football, and obviously our other great... the sport we like to cheat on football with, the cricket.
Yeah. But no, it's been a good 10 years, I would think. Yeah. Same. Plenty of things happened. Plenty of changes and everything. I mean, if you look at say the Brendan Brothers of the EPL, and looking how different it is now compared to 10 years ago.
Absolutely. Way back, the first season we covered, Sir Alex Ferguson had just retired.
Yeah. And
David Moyes took over Manchester United. Since then, Manchester United has had, I think, 5, I want to say, different managers. Jose Mourinho came back to Chelsea. I want to say there's been like 50 different managers at Chelsea in that time.
Minimum.
That's like
the last 2 years.
Manuel Pellegrini won that season in his debut season for Manchester City. He is still I think, the only Man City manager to do it in their first season.
Yeah.
And of course, they've only had the 2. And Liverpool, and that time, they went from Brendan Rodgers to maybe 1 or 2 caretaker managers until Klopp showed up.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
He's been there a long time as well, and no surprises, those 2 are the most successful clubs in that era.
Yeah, exactly. And was that the year? 2014. No, that was, that season's the one before, with Big Horse, Little Horse, and Gerrard's slip as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the slip. Can't forget the slip.
I can't.
A crucial moment in the history of football. And of course, the very next year, Steven Gerrard, in his last ever match against Manchester United, would come on for 10 seconds, get a red card, and get sent off. It was one of the highlights of my year.
Good times.
Yeah, we didn't see peak Steven Gerrard in our time in the podcast. We did see the last glimmer of Super Frank, because he managed to win one with Pellegrini.
Yes. That sounds about right, yeah.
And he got to have 1 good season as a manager for Chelsea.
Yeah. He had the 1 season. It was good.
Yeah, if only he had the 1 season, right?
He had the 1 season. It's good. Block the
Fair enough.
It's fine. He's Super Frankie Lampard. He's fine.
Exactly. But now, we're so close to the beginning of the season. It's incredible to me to think that we're about to start in a couple of weeks. The Premier League, I always
far off.
talk about things have not returned back to normal, and they genuinely haven't. Basically, middle of August, they're going to start again. Since a certain event that happened in late 2019, all the way until, well, still going on.
Still going.
We have not really had a regular type season for a while. Every season's been compressed in some way, and obviously the World Cup last season left it compressed even further.
Yeah.
This has... So this will be the first... After this season will be the first, we'll probably have a proper off-season.
Yeah. I mean, this off season's not been too bad. It's
Like,
been
I think
reasonably
our
regular.
last... Because usually the games end before June, and the players tend to get 2.5 months.
Yeah.
And
These
this
games-
time it ended like just before July, and they got a month and a bit before they had to come in for their friendlies and all that. So
Yeah.
it is. I think it makes a big difference. Like I think sure 2 months of that probably there's 4 weeks of preseason, so they would get a proper 4 to 5 weeks off for players. Because there was no international games in the middle of this season, unless you play for the women's team. But they haven't really had that. But we'll see. They've probably had more rest than they've had in the last few seasons. So we'll see maybe a difference. Now, we are going to do our beginning of the season preview for the league. What do you like? Alphabetical order?
Let's go alphabetical. It's basically.
Alright. So,
basically the same
look
as any other order at the moment, right?
I mean, look, Arsenal's always first at alphabetical order, except for some reason some websites go AFC. If they're going to use AFC Birmingham, you have to put them above Arsenal in your alphabetical order table, I think.
It's every website, every different place that has a EPL table seems to do it differently about how Bournemouth sorts itself out. So
Yeah,
AFC,
because
they just don't really want to have a consistency across it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They need to sort it out. Bournemouth, they should be top of the league if they're going to be called AFC Bournemouth. If you're going to put the AFC in there at the beginning. So, we'll start with the North London Gunners, the Arsenal. The team, a certain member of my immediate family might be slowly deciding to support.
Oh dear.
They had a great season last season, came second. They're in the Champions League this season. I think very good players they've bought in. Obviously, in the January transfer window, they got Jorginho and Trossard in, and I think they'll have a preseason under their belt. Churi and Timber, who can play right back and right wing, gonna be very useful.
Yeah.
Player from Ajax. And they have Declan Rice.
Yeah.
There seems to be a mistake in the ESPN SoccerNet thing, because they've got Kai Havertz as an out going to Chelsea. I'm sure you're like, no, you've bought him. No backsies.
No backsies. Has he come? Yeah, that is weird that they've got him there. So he's definitely gone the other way on that date. So.
Yes. So Kai Havertz has come in as well. Another forward who can play as a false nine, play along the wings. I'm sure Arteta, I think we can all agree he's a very talented player.
He is a very talented player.
Does he fit? He clearly didn't fit Chelsea's system. He might fit Arsenal's system. Whether or not a player fits Chelsea's system is going to be a thing when we talk about Chelsea. Granit Xhaka has left. Great servant to Arsenal Football Club. Gone back to Bayer Leverkusen to end his career, looks like. But yeah, I think he'll be remembered fondly by the Gunners. Club captain. Won the FA Cup and the League Cup for them. Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry, 2 FA Cups for them. So yeah, I think he's gonna be remembered fondly by Arsenal fans. But I like Arsenal. I think I would be quite confident about them. I think top four at least for Arsenal. I don't know where in the top four. I wouldn't be surprised if they were second or even first for that matter. But if people are putting them in their predicted second, I'm like, oh yeah. But I'll be conservative and say Arsenal third. My prediction.
I think, like, they haven't weakened their squad, right, so far. They've only got it stronger.
It's a question of whether they have enough bodies to do Champions League and
that is the big question. And they've got a few extra ones in, I guess. They've still got a little bit longer in the transfer
they will
window,
get more players, I think.
Yeah.
I think they definitely will need to get another midfielder, I think, to support and probably another centre back.
Probably.
That's
to be fair, those are places you can't have too many sometimes.
Yeah. I think they just need more bodies. They need those sort of players, centre backs, a central midfielder, maybe a left fullback to back up Kieran Tierney.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got a solid squad. Like their starting 11 is as good as any starting 11 in the Premier League. Like there's no question for me. On their day, more than capable of beating even Manchester City's starting 11.
Yeah.
It's a question of how well that squad will handle the extra workload. Because top four is competitive. Okay, top five is competitive because this season it's very, very likely there will be top five will qualify for the Champions League because I think England will get the legacy spot.
Yeah.
So it'll be the highest placed team that didn't already qualify. So in theory, you can have 6 teams from England. Sorry. In theory, apparently, you can have 7 teams from England if there's a Champions League. If the winner of the Champions League does not finish in the top 5, and the winner of the Europa League is English and doesn't finish in the top 5.
Oh, right, yeah, and there's the top 5.
So that's the maximum in theory any country could have. I'm just saying England and Spain have the top 2, so the maximum is 7 for those 2 countries in theory.
In theory, yeah. Well, maybe one day we'll see it. It'll be hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see. I can foresee a day it happening in England because of the top 6, or top 7 is really competitive.
Yeah. So it's quite likely someone could win the Champions League, but will not have as good a league run, and therefore be outside the top 5, and then have someone else be in the Europa that's done really well. So yeah.
If Brighton wins Europa League, they'll be in the Champions League. There's a decent chance they won't finish 5th.
Yeah, exactly.
So, they could finish as high as 5th, absolutely. But I'm just saying there's a decent chance they won't because it's a very competitive top 5 at the moment. But yeah, Arsenal, I think that's for me. Expected position is 3rd.
I'd put them expected position 2nd, but 3rd. I'm just being optimistic for them, given how good the last season they had, bar the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, fair enough. Next up, we have another team that competed really well last season, overperformed expectations, and also has had an incredible transfer window. We go to the villains of Aston Villa. They're gonna be playing in the Europa League, but they got Moussa Diaby from Leverkusen and Pau Torres from Villarreal, who's some people are basically Liverpool and Arsenal and Manchester United were trying to get. So Yuri Tielemans from Leicester. So this window has so far they've basically gotten a bunch of really good players. I can definitely see them continue their run. They've obviously got a really good manager as well, Unai Emery, who's like a Europa League specialist. This is the team I think that'll compete the furthest in the Europa League of the English clubs. Just because, like I said, Unai Emery is a Europa League Europa League dude. I'm pretty sure he's won it more than any other manager.
All right. Yeah.
Because he led Sevilla to a bunch of Europa Leagues, and then he won
Yeah.
it with Villarreal as well, against Manchester United. So I think, but Aston Villa, I think last season was a bit of an anomaly season. A bunch of clubs got in because like Liverpool dropped, Chelsea dropped, Spurs dropped. I don't necessarily think that's gonna happen again. I think Aston Villa will finish 6th, though. I think of the rest, they're gonna do the best.
I see. I mean, even 6 seems a little high, like add Chelsea and Tottenham back into the.
I am not optimistic about Chelsea and Tottenham.
Okay. Fair enough. Still, I'm being optimistic for the two of them. So, but I think you're right that Aston Villa will be the best of the rest. So it's just.
You thinking 6th or 7th?
When we get to Chelsea, Tottenham, so make that 8th because I'm being optimistic for both Spurs and the Blues to get back up into the mix. So it would make 8th for Aston Villa.
8th. Alright. Fair enough. Next up, we have AFC Bournemouth. Another team that had a great season last season. Look, Bournemouth, given they were a new club coming in, they didn't they survived relegation quite easily. That's a great result. But obviously, it's a bit of a weird thing. They've sacked O'Neill and got Irala in. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he's an incredible coach. Andoni Irala is a really, really good coach, and I think he'll do really, really well. But the Bournemouth owner did say that he thinks Gary's done really well, and I'll always be grateful, and he's always welcome. But he was a caretaker manager, and he's still young. He wanted to get somebody who's a more experienced manager who's used to playing in a big league. Irala has led Rayo Vallecano to 11th last season in La Liga. Given Rayo Vallecano is basically like Madrid's 4th club.
Yeah.
I think he's done really, really well. So
that is very
it's hard to say. New manager in the Premier League, it's always tough. So
yeah.
I think Bournemouth finished 15th last season. I don't think they will be relegated. I think the club has a good culture and a good squad, and I think they do have a good manager. So I think they'll finish 17th. No, 16th, actually. No, not 17th, 16th.
Yeah, I'm happy to say the same, that they'll be around 15th, 16th. I think, as you say, they should survive relegation, and I think they'll be about the same as this year. I think they might get a little bit better, they might not, but I think on average, I'm happy to say they'll be about the same as they are now, so yeah, 15th or 16th.
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten a bunch of players in, including Justin Kluivert, who's Patrick Kluivert's son, and players from all over Europe. Like, I will be honest, I don't know that much about all these players. But they do need more bodies. Bournemouth didn't
Yeah.
buy a lot of players last season when they got promoted into Premier League, so
No.
they do need to bring in, and like it's not like Nottingham Forest where they had extra 30 players, or Chelsea who I think had like 200 new players, give or take.
We had half the world's population, I think. In the
Yeah,
January
so
thing.
yeah, they needed to heavily recruit and refresh, get people in at least squad depth,
Yeah.
So I think I am confident that Bournemouth won't have second season syndrome. I'm not sure about the other promoted clubs. Moving on from Bournemouth, we go to the Mighty Bees of South London.
Yeah.
Brentford FC. Obviously, they had a great season last season. I believe they finished 9th last season.
Yeah.
Because I think Chelsea were 10th.
Yes. Yes, no, ninth. No, Chelsea weren't 10th. We were.
No,
We were
Crystal Palace.
Fulham was 10th. Crystal Palace was 11th. We were 12th. We weren't
That's
even
right.
close to top half.
That's right. It was
we were
West
closer to
Ham.
relegation.
West Ham were the only London club below you, and let's be fair, they won the Conference League, so they got a trophy.
We were only 10 points off relegation. Just putting it into context.
Yeah, fair. Looking at the Brentford transfers, once again, not a lot of players I know much about. Nathan Collins from Wolves is a good player. There's a bunch of players from all over the world, but Brentford have a really good scouting model. I'm sure they're, when they bring the players in, they'll see if they fit the system, and they don't have European football to worry about, so they're a team that can potentially go up the rankings. But there's other clubs who are more well-resourced who are not playing in Europe this season, so that might be tough for them. They finished, as you said, 11th. I think. Sorry, it was Crystal Palace that finished 11th, right? They finished 9th?
9th, yes.
They finished 9th. I think that'll be a very creditable performance. I think 9th again, Brentford.
Yeah. I think top 10 is definite.
Maintaining top 10 and a deep cup run.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm pushing Chelsea up above them, but yeah, I think top 10, 9 or 10 seems about right. So I think basically them, Aston Villa, and not to be hashtag spoilers, but Brighton will be sort of the next set after the quote unquote big clubs. So
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of, we go to the Brighton and Hove Albion. The owner of which is the rival of Brentford's owner. Two algorithm clubs. So Brighton's had a bunch of sales, which always happens to Brighton. But yeah, I've always said that I worry about how sustainable that model will be. Like eventually, can you keep buying good players to replace the quality of players? Like they seem to always replace them with better players somehow. At Brighton. But yeah, we'll see. They've like Alexis McAllister is gone. Obviously, they sold Leandro Trossard in the January transfer window. And they have Moses Caicedo. Everybody seems to think will be going to Chelsea.
yeah, that does seem to be the rumors going around.
And look, McAllister, Caicedo are both very good players. Definitely going to be missed by any team. But they have had a bunch of players come in, including James Milner coming in from Liverpool to spend a season or two, I guess, in the twilight of his career.
Yeah.
And
that's helpful for Brighton, really.
Yeah, Can you imagine James Milner made his Premier League debut 20 years ago, 20 seasons ago,
Wow. Yeah.
as a 15-year-old, I want to say. Might have
Ooh.
even been a 14-year-old.
Ooh, really?
Because he was younger than Wayne Rooney, and they made their debut in the same season.
All right.
And Rooney's been retired for, 6, 7 years, and he's a
Yeah.
manager now.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy to think, really.
Yeah. So,
So,
yeah, that's an incredible uh
SoccerNet's got him 2005-2006 season starts.
might be that late. Yeah, you're right. Might have been that late. But okay. Because I just, because in my head I for some reason think Rooney made his debut season in 2004. But you're right. It was probably 2005, 2006.
Looks
But yeah, the well
2005.
done to him. He's still
Excellent.
been around for ages, and I
I
think
know
he'll
it's
definitely help Brighton. He's such a versatile player. He'll be able to cover so many positions for De Zerbi. I can't Brighton's a team I'm looking forward to watching. They
yeah.
are going to be in the Europa League this season. It'll be interesting to see what they prioritize.
Mm.
Um, they're a club that will probably not be threatened by relegation, I think. So I think, but at some point, I think they're going to start prioritizing Europa games towards the end of the season, especially if they make the knockouts.
Yeah.
Um, so my thinking is they will finish. They'll do. It's like when Burnley qualified for Europe and Wolves qualified for Europe, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna finish 13th.
Yeah, I think I'd still stick them maybe a little higher than that, but I think, I was saying spoilers before, the best of the rest was going to be Aston Villa, Brentford, and Brighton. This of that, the rest, you had Fulham into there and Crystal Palace and stuff. The rest, Brighton were the best ones this year. I think they'll be near the bottom of the rest pack. So I think uh, Aston Villa and Brentford definitely will be above them. And say maybe Crystal Palace, maybe Wolves, West Ham, maybe. But that's putting them around that 11th, 12th, 13th sort of position. So I might put them at
Yeah,
12th,
that's why I
just to
think.
be one above you. Aston
Fair
Villa.
enough. All right. So we then go to Burnley, newly promoted. Vincent Company has led this club from the championship. They were incredible down there. Um, I'm not gonna pretend I know much about the players they've brought in. James Trafford for Manchester City, so that's clear. I think that'll be a good player. Apparently, he's been touted as a good player by Manchester City insiders.
Yeah.
And they're from their academy. I'm guessing that's how Company knows him.
Mm.
I think the team are gonna do really, and apparently he did really well in the under 23
And
World
21.
Cup,
Yeah.
so under 21 World Cup. So he's a goalkeeper.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So I mean, if they're already upgrading to a sweeper keeper type player to start uh, playing from the back, yeah, definitely. That definitely could be interesting and fun to see. I think Burnley, first season back, they want to survive. I think I feel like Vincent Kompany is a good manager, so I think this is the first team we're reviewing that's a newly promoted side. I think they will just finish 17th.
Mm. Yeah. I look at it and go, who are they going to, finish above? And that is one of those ones that's hard to work out, really. I think. other than
There's a
maybe.
club from last season that didn't get relegated who I think is definitely getting relegated this season.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's hard to see. I think there's a couple in there that probably go down.
Yeah,
So
I think
and
it's going to be
the
tough this season for the newly promoted clubs, which is why I think Burnley will just make it to getting promoted,
yeah, I can see.
avoiding relegation.
Like, see how that works out. I'm just trying to think whether I'm feeling one of the others is going to just keep up, because I feel like Burnley will be right there on the cusp, per se, whether it's 17th or 18th.
18th is
Like,
relegation, right?
I know, that's what I mean. I feel like Burnley's going to be right there on the cusp of it, neither just stay up or just go down. So I'm
Mm,
sort of 50-50 between the two of them, but let's put them at 17th as well. I'm feeling lucky for them.
yeah. Next we go to the Mighty Blues, Chelsea Football Club. Bunch of players have come out. Bunch of players will be have come into the team as well. Key among them, Christopher Nkunku from RB Leipzig and Angelo Gabriel um, from Santos. Um, Diego Moreira from Benfica. They've been finding players, and they've gotten rid of a bunch of people who were dead weight. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Christian Pulisic, David
Oh, I
Fofana.
missed that. Pulisic had gone, but yeah,
Pulisic has gone to Milan.
yeah.
And
Fofana's
says
gone.
Cesar Azpilicueta has finally ended his Chelsea career, left for
Sad.
Atletico Madrid on a free. Mason Mount to Manchester United.
Yeah.
Kalidou Koulibaly to Al Hilal. Edouard Mendy to Al Ahly. Ruben left his cheek to Milan as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was also
Um,
sad.
N'Golo Kante to El Ittihad.
Yeah.
Mateo Kovacic to Manchester City.
Yeah. Knew that one was coming. That was, well.
And yeah, so there's a bunch of players who in there where I go, they had to leave. They did have to. Even Kante,
Yeah.
wonderful player. He's not
It's,
at his peak anymore.
he's been more
He's
injured
but
over the last 2 seasons than he has played, Kante.
yeah,
So.
and I fully expect him to be a gun in Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
Like he'll be an
he will
amazing
absolutely.
player.
He will carve it up there, and he'll play a lot better and a lot freer, and won't get as much injuries, so he'll be fine. So, but it has been, there's two in there, so him and Azpilicueta leaving it are sad. It's a sad days as a fan, but you also, it's acknowledgement that it was time for both of them.
I feel like if they knew that they were gonna go, Chelsea should have let like it's why I feel bitter about David De Gea leaving Manchester United, because I'm just like, look, David De Gea has been an absolute Manchester United legend. He's 7th on our all-time appearances list, 4-time Player of the Year, won the Golden Glove twice, including last season. So, just like, the fans should have had an opportunity to say goodbye to him,
Yeah.
like give him a proper send-off, and like Aspi is in that same bracket, I think, at Chelsea.
Yeah, once again, I think part of that's him. He didn't want to have the big send off, and a bit was just he was also injured towards the end of the season. Because Asby was always going. Like when he wanted to go back to Madrid, there was thoughts that he'd prefer this. He might stay and see out his career here because his kids he basically grew up in London, and had been and sort of felt more there. But his heart's back in Spain, so it was just about where in Spain he went to more than anything.
Yeah, and I think also like it's a bit more of a bitter pill because David De Gea's last appearance for Manchester United is obviously that FA Cup final where he did not play well against Manchester City. Now, the more disturbing ones are players like Mason Mount leaving. I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek leaving. Because, like, you know, the fans should have had an opportunity to say goodbye to him, like give him a proper send-off, and like And like Christian Pulisic, okay, maybe he's a good player, but didn't quite fit in Chelsea at the end of the day.
Pulisic fitted okay. We just didn't. We played well with him. We played him well at one point, but basically over the last 2 years, they just haven't been able to. I don't know. They've changed what they're wanting to do, and Pulisic didn't seem to fit into it anymore. Even though they were buying players that were basically Pulisic. It's like,
Yeah.
why are we buying these players? We have these players. Like, how about we just play the players we have that play well in this position, in those positions, and in those roles? How about that? No? Okay, we're gonna buy players that do the same thing. Okay, fine, whatever. So, which I mean, it also says things. Mason Mount is sad that once again he just, whilst he'd been giving his heart and soul, you can see he gave his heart and soul to Chelsea out in the field. It just hadn't been happening, and too much was left on his shoulders to do, I think, is part of it. So he can go off to United, and he'll once again probably play really well and carve up there because he's way too good a player.
But, I think so too. I think Mason Mount is the sort of player no club should want to lose, especially a club of Chelsea's. And I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek is in that bracket as well.
Yeah.
Like Pulisic, he divides opinion, but I don't think any Chelsea fans think Mason Mount's a waste or Ruben Loftus-Cheek is a waste.
Oh, you haven't read the Chelsea Reddit, have you? Oh my gosh.
Oh right.
There's plenty of so-called Chelsea fans that think they're waste, but yeah. To be fair, that's Reddit. You know, you always get that sort of crap there.
Yeah.
But I would say yes. Any true Blues fan would think like that. And like, Ruben Loftus-Cheek has been with Chelsea since he was like 9 in the academy. So it is even Saturday to see him head off to a different team. It's like he's been with us for so long and just did everything he needed to do for the club and everything. It's just.
And I feel like Conor Gallagher's gonna leave at some point as well. He's just getting too many bids, and Chelsea seems to be a bit unstable. The other thing is Chelsea don't have a goalkeeper. They're gonna start with Kepa.
He played well last season. So Kepa ended up being the first choice goalkeeper last year, and he's definitely stepped up, especially through the second half of last year, even all of last year really, but especially the second half, he stepped up and was clearly the better goalkeeper there. So, I mean, wasn't helped a lot by what was happening around him, but if we get a decent defence in front of him, then I think he'll be fine. But I mean, there is plenty of goalkeepers in the squad, but other than Kepa, I suppose we've got Bettinelli. So you know he's been around. He's okay. He's an able backup, and the rest of them are just young ones. So we'll have to see how they go.
Yeah. Moving from Chelsea, we go to South London, to Crystal Palace. The Eagles, just before they're about to move into their new home in where the original Crystal Palace was, and it's an incredible stadium. I've seen the thing. It looks like it's going to have giant glass walls around it to make it look like the old Crystal Palace. It's going to be really, really cool. So they are they've had a few transfers come in, so not that many so far. Though I think Albert Lokonga from Arsenal on loan could be very useful for them. But you know, it's Roy. He's got Crystal Palace. They'll finish 11th. Do we need to discuss any further? Any notes to add?
No, that sounds about.
We didn't predict Chelsea's position.
I was going to say we didn't predict Chelsea's position.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm going to predict they're going to do better than last year.
There's a lot of room for improvement.
There is a lot. Yeah,
table position-wise.
Yeah, a lot of room for improvement just across the board. Like.
Also, you've got a new manager with Poch. I forgot to mention that. I think Poch will do really well with this team. I think Chelsea might not finish in the top 5. I did say Aston Villa were going to be 6th, right?
You did, yeah.
I think Chelsea might finish 7th, and that they might qualify for a Europa League spot. Just because that top 5 is ridiculously competitive right now.
Yeah. I'm being...
And at the moment, Aston Villa, I think, have it more together than Chelsea do. As a squad, because so many ingoings and outgoings, manager is stable, he's had a season under the, and everything like that.
I'm being very
Being
optimistic.
said, I will swap that around. I think Aston Villa will be 7th, Chelsea will finish 6th, because Aston Villa will have Europa to deal with. So, okay, I'll swap that around.
Okay. I'm being optimistic and saying Chelsea bounce back and get to 5th, so...
Okay.
That's where I'm being optimistic this year. It's 5th. 5th is my goal.
Look, man, you haven't heard anything yet, so you're not you're not being optimistic. But there's a reason why Arsenal was 3rd in my list. Yeah, we go to Everton next. Yeah, well, I have to mention very sad news about Dele Alli and that interview. Like, it was very difficult to watch that interview with him and Gary Neville on the
I haven't seen the interview yet, so
I can't remember the overlap. Like, even Gary Neville was crying at one point.
okay.
Listening to Dele Alli talk to him, like, it was very hard because talking about his childhood and like his addiction problems, and like I know we usually end with Jose watch, but we'll enter some Jose watch in here because Jose apparently after that interview immediately called him to apologize for calling him lazy in the All or Nothing documentary with Tottenham, and they apparently had a long talk with each other, and like Dele was like, no, you were really good to me, like I came back into form after you gave me that talk because you said that I'm really talented, you want the best for me, and like I hadn't heard that from a coach in a while.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so it was a very but in a way, it's definitely, like I said, it's a very difficult interview, definitely worth watching. But yeah, very real. He's gonna be back at Everton. It's very harsh for me to say. I don't know how well Everton will do. Like, if Dele Alli does really well, they could be incredible. They don't have many incomings. Everton are basically in the Man City position. They're like really close to breaking FFP. They might be in Man City trouble when it comes to FFP. They've sold a bunch of players for. They haven't sold a bunch of players, like, other than Moise Kean, who went away on loan. He's now officially transferred for 28 million to Juventus. Former Manchester United and Aston Villa player Ashley Young has gone on a free to Everton. So see how he does over there. He'll definitely be very good at right back for them, but at his age, I'm not sure how many games he can play for them. Look, Everton deserve to be relegated. Sean Dyche is there, I know, but how long can you keep doing miracles, Everton? I can't see it. If Everton don't get relegated next season, in the upcoming season, then they'll be able to move into their new stadium in the Premiership, and it'll be a brand new, chapter for them. Maybe everything will switch around. And that's what I hope happens to them, but yeah, I'm not confident. I think they will be 18th. Unfortunately, Burnley are going to relegate their Sean Dyche.
I'm sort of with you in that. They're out. I feel like there's spoilers here. My one's down. The relegation battle is basically going to be Forest, Burnley, Sheffield United, Everton, and Luton Town. And I still feel that's the order. I mean, maybe Sheffield and Everton switch around, but like Luton, I don't. I know we haven't got to them yet. I think they may be breaking records for least points, personally.
They're already breaking records for their stadium.
Do they have a stadium?
Technically, apparently they spent 10 million, put the lights in
Oh,
just
nice.
for one season, just because they don't want to go to Watford, which I understand. I
Yeah.
respect
Yeah, I
that
expect them to.
position. But yeah, they're gonna be there. But we shouldn't switch to Luton
No.
Town.
So no, Everton.
Everton, what's your prediction?
19th. I was going 19th.
19th. Okay. Next up, we have Fulham, who managed to get in, who had a great season last season, and they've got a bunch of good players. Cedric Suarez on loan from Arsenal, Shane Duffy from Brighton and Hove Albion, Willian, who apparently didn't have a team, so came in for a free, and Sasa Lukic from Torino. Solid players. By my recollection, Fulham don't have European football to worry about this season. So they'll be playing
No, yeah,
in.
they finished 10th, so yeah.
Yeah, so they're a team that's primed to, I think, do well. My prediction for Fulham, Marco Silva is gonna keep the. If Marco Silva stays at Fulham, they'll finish 10th again. They'll keep their position, maintain it.
Yeah,
I don't think Fulham are getting second season syndrome.
I had them slightly better at 9th, but that was just mostly because I think I had, yeah, I think 9th was my spot for them, if I remember correctly. But as long as I'm just making sure I haven't screwed up and doubled up any spots, which I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
I was with you that they will perform about as good as last year, I think. I don't see them having the second season syndrome either. They've got a decent squad. They finished comfortably mid-table. They'll finish comfortably mid-table again.
Yeah. I think, and Fulham, their owner are wealthy enough to fund them with bring in more players in the January window if it is needed. Moving on from Fulham, we go to Liverpool. They have got in Alexis McAllister from Brighton Hove Albion and Dominic Szoboszlai from Red Bull Leipzig. Two very good players. Liverpool, I don't know if they've completed their rebuild, but they still have Mo Salah at the club. Obviously, Bobby Firmino is leaving this season, or has left for Al Ahly.
Yeah.
And James Milner has left. Fabio Carvalho has left. So they have had a few outgoings. They've brought in some quality players, and I'm sure they'll have some players from their academy come up. And so this just came in. Fulham and Wolves agreed to Jimenez transfer. So Fulham are definitely going to maintain that position if Jimenez is also going there. Jimenez.
I'm have to rethink my
and also
now.
they've got Liverpool also losing Jordan Henderson.
Yeah.
To El Ettifaq. So yeah, I can't see Liverpool. The clubs above them have all brought in more players, and they seem more settled. And Klopp's team seems older and less settled. Like they're reliant on Salah for goals a lot, and their defense doesn't have Virgil van Dijk at peak Virgil van Dijk ability anymore.
Yeah.
So I think though they're still Liverpool. They still have mentality and they still have the culture. So I still think Liverpool will finish 5th. They'll get just into the Champions League.
I mean, yeah, I'm very agreeing with you. I mean, they've got Gakpo in there that he came at the beginning of the year during the January transfer window. So that is adding potentially more goals there. Maybe not as reliant on Salah, but still, it's so reliant on Salah when you look down the list. Um,
Yeah.
like it's more and more, you just wonder where is the attacks coming from. They got people who can finish it, but then others that
Also,
can.
where's the defense coming from?
Yeah, there's no defense. The defense is, yeah. I mean, they got a few young players in their squad that might be able to step up and do it, but yeah, there's a lot of older legs in there in the defense. I mean, they still got Alexander Arnold, but we're saying defense, so see how Trent goes. But I had them at 6. I was plopping them down one spot for my
Ah,
optimistic Chelsea revival. So 6.
fair enough. Next up, we have to the much mentioned Luton Town.
Yeah.
They've got. They are the club with the smallest, team to be promoted into the Premier League. Luton Town are founder members of the Premier League, though until the upcoming season, they had never played a Premier League game. They famously were relegated the season that all the clubs voted to form the Premier League and break away. And they were, but they also voted to form the Premier League.
Yeah.
So they're a founder member. And so now it's a romantic story. If they don't get relegated, it'll be one of the greatest escapes ever. Like,
Yeah.
just putting it out there. But they do have some great people brought in. The Tahit Chong came in from Birmingham, and he's from the Manchester United Academy, and Issa Kabore from Manchester City coming in as on loan. Mads Anderson from Barnsley. So it's still a very championship level squad. I feel like Luton, it's a season too early. They come in, get their money, parachute payments. Next season they'll be in their nice big stadium in the championship, and they'll come straight back up.
Yeah.
So I thought they will finish 20th.
Yeah. That's where I
Sorry,
had them.
sorry, headers. Sorry. Look, totally play this clip if you don't get relegated. And unlike Bournemouth, who missed out on us predicting them getting relegated in their clapback video.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think I'm with you in our very famous predictions of obvious relegation fodder. I'm adding Luton Town to that list. I know we're not very good at picking those, but
Yeah.
I don't see how Luton stays up. As I said before, like I worry that they're going to be some of the lowest point totals ever in the Premier League. Really.
Yeah. I mean,
as I say, it's just too early for them.
Yeah, I mean, as a side, if they had their first game at home, much like Brentford did, and they sensationally beat Arsenal in their first Premier League game, then I could see it because they're at home, like the fans are there. It's gonna be right up, and it's their last game in that stadium and everything. Last season in that stadium, so. I could totally see that happening. Like, they could have won their first game and maybe they would have started, but they're starting away to Brighton. It's tough, man. It's very tough. There are no easy games in the Premier League. Unfortunately for Luton, look, you can dream the great dream, but yeah, I think you're getting down.
I think just as a show of how it's too early, like their first home game was against Burnley, which would have been an awesome first home match because it's I know it'd be the beginning of the season, but it's a relegation fight. Sort of one that's sort of there, but they've had to have it postponed because their stadium won't be ready in time. You say they are upgrading it, but it's not going to be ready for the start of the season. So that's just to me that's just the sign of where they're at. It's like they will be there. They will have a good. They have a good side. They have a good club. They will be back and they will be competitive in the future, but this season is not it. This season is just
Yeah,
surprise. We're here. Thanks for the money. Let's keep as much of it as we can,
yeah, yeah,
and keep building for the future.
absolutely.
Mm.
Um,
I mean, it's a good way to
next,
get a new stadium built, though, because they got prize money for
I mean,
coming up.
yeah, well, they have already paid for the stadium, so now they've got bonus money they can invest in other things.
Yeah,
Um, now, so you agree 20th?
20th definitely by
Okay.
some distance. Sorry, Lucian.
Okay. Will they make double-digit points?
Ooh, that's where I'm struggling. I think they will
RB
just.
did 9th. That's the lowest Premier League points total.
I think Lucian will make it to double digits, but just like 10 or 11, maybe 12.
Yeah, because if they have 10 or 11 points, then there is a decent chance that a club with more than 40, maybe even as high as 42 points gets relegated.
Yeah, that will be the thing. They could be make the relegation fight that much more different.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, moving on. We go to the champions of everything, Manchester
Yes.
City.
Yes.
Um. They've had some incredible. They've had Mateo Kovacic come in.
Yeah.
So far, the only incoming bunch of people going out, especially from their academy, and of course, Ilkay Gundogan moves to Barcelona. Hmm.
Mm.
On a free. Hmm. All right, Barcelona. We'll just nod and move along.
Yeah.
But yes, the
Don't worry. I think the best Barcelona move is still to come.
I'm sure.
Yeah. But anyway, City.
Yeah, so they're at City. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. They're finishing first.
Yes.
They may even retain the Champions League.
Yeah. Yeah. They. This season may be a season of. Sorry, how many trophies do we have? Yes, we locked them all. Thank you.
Will City get the quadruple?
Or the quintuple, or the sextuple. I think there is. If you count the super.
Well, you count the Club World Cup, I think,
Oh yeah,
and there's also
So it's
there's the
8?
club. So there's a Club World Cup. There is
Yeah.
an Intercontinental Cup between
Yeah.
your UEFA and CONMEBOL. There's a UEFA Champions League. There's an FA Cup. There's a League Cup, and there's a Premier League. I don't count the Charity Shield.
I was saying, we
That's
count the
not
Charity
real.
Shield and what's the Super Cup for the UEFA.
Oh, the UEFA Super Cup definitely count.
So if you count the Charity Shield, there's 8. They
There's
could
a
come away with 8 bits of silverware this year.
the octuple.
The octuple. Is the octuple on?
Is the octuple on? I think
wouldn't
that
count it out.
City might lose the Intercontinental Trophy somehow. But yeah,
Watch-
they've
Watch
got
them
a
lose
deep
the
squad.
the 3 ones that count the least. Yeah, the Intercontinental, the Super Cup, and the Community Shield.
Yeah. And they'll be playing Arsenal in the Community Shield, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's try and move it.
Because they won the FA Cup.
Yeah, they're not playing you guys then.
I don't
Second place
think.
and FA Cup. I can't remember which
Yeah,
way
it's
around
against
it's at.
Arsenal. It's always the second place team because it always has to be a game.
Yeah.
So it's the
No.
second place team
Yeah,
if you've won the FA Cup as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't remember if it was the second placed league team or the second placed FA Cup team if you'd won both. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. They're playing Arsenal, so it's the second placed league team.
Yeah. So we'll see if the octuple is on in a few weeks. But yeah, first. No need to divide. I don't know if they'll repeat winning the Champions League, but yeah, they'll go far. They'll at least make the semis.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that?
I think they'll.
I'm making bold predictions here. Well, Manchester City winning the league, and no, actually, let's. I'm not. They're not gonna finish first. They're gonna retain the Champions League. They're gonna win the FA Cup. They're gonna win the League Cup. They're gonna win the World Cup. They'll come second in the league because nobody's won 4 in a row, and nobody's ever going to. So they're gonna finish second. Which obviously means next up, Manchester United are clearly gonna finish first.
Clearly. Just for the record, I've got City as first.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, this is contingent on the idea that Manchester City will sign a striker of some sort.
Maybe. See how you go.
Yeah.
Maybe United's just trying to pretend that they're like City from a couple of years back.
Yeah. So Manchester United so far in their in the team's transfers, like obviously they finished third last season. I think they will improve on that because Ten Hag will have he's already qualified for got a trophy and a top 4 finish in his first season compared to Arteta, who only got an FA Cup. And Manchester United were theoretically much worse than Arsenal were when Arteta took over.
Alright, yes.
In terms of the squad quality.
Yeah.
Because I think Arsene Wenger and Unai Emery left them with a reasonable squad.
Yeah.
That being said, their incomings so far this window have been Mason Mount, Andre Onana, and Johnny Evans. Yes. Anyway, Johnny Evans, and apparently his twin sons are trying to sign for Manchester United from City, from the youth team.
Uh-huh.
The Mason Mount is obviously a very, very good player. He's going to fit in multiple different formations for Ten Hag, both as a central mid, defensive mid, or even like an attacking mid. You know, depending on who's he could be a starter in all those positions. He can be a backup for a bunch of people on those positions, like Casemiro. He can partner Casemiro. He can back up Casemiro.
Yeah.
He could partner Bruno, or be a backup for Bruno when Bruno's not playing. All these things. United are definitely going to sell a few more players. I can't. So far, at the moment, the biggest. So far, it's only been players who are not really starters. Like Alex Telles has gone to El Nasser. And Zidane Iqbal has gone to Utrecht, but a lot of the players are staying in. There have been some talk that players from the youth team, like Hannibal and the like, are potentially going to make the step up into the first team this season and get starting minutes. They still have a decent defense, I think, and Andre Onana. This is the thing. My thoughts are Andre Onana is going to have an incredible season. He basically, if you watched the Champions League final against Manchester City, he basically made them afraid to press, and Haaland basically retreated. And was ineffective in that game.
Yeah.
Literally, the goalkeeper took him out by positionally outplaying him.
Yeah.
Like, he had an incredibly good game, and he's had an incredibly good season. Apparently, there were no goals conceded from goalkeeper mistakes by him.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So he's expected. He had saved 6 above his expected goals conceded. Nice. So he saved 6 on top of what he should have. Basically, so that very, very good. And the other parts of his game is like he's an incredible passer. Like, he has something ridiculous, like 95% of his passes are completed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
and something and like that includes like deep passes. So it's like he's an incredible player, but apparently like everyone who's been commenting from the clubs he used to play for, like Ajax and Inter, and also like Cameroon fans are just like, bro, he is. It's like you need a strong heart to watch him. It's gonna be like, you know, squeaky bum time every time he's there, because he has no fear. He just goes out and, you know, passes the ball, dribbles around players, and then, you know, tries to get the pass that takes out as many, takes out as many attackers as possible.
Yeah.
So basically, he's very good at punishing the press.
Oh, nice.
And that's basically what Brighton does as a team. He tends to do by himself. Like when he's on fire. So basically, that's what I'm hoping. Like if he can do something like that. Like there was a big conversation, I think you and I, and it's been something that Manchester United fans have been. Well, there's hail outside. There's been much talk about Manchester United is, if you can only afford one, do you get a goalkeeper or a striker?
Yeah.
And basically it worked out, people were like, a goalkeeper is increasing the floor and a striker is increasing the ceiling.
Alright, yeah.
I think Andre Onana does increase the ceiling as well, just because he will be, you know, he's just going to start the attacks quicker for United from the back. And if they can play out from...
I was just going to, by the way, it looks like, just reading here, that, you know, we had that discussion about, for United, you know, goalkeeper, if you could only have one goalkeeper or striker. United went with two goalkeepers, since they are hoping to find Altay Bayindir as well, so...
Yeah, I've seen that as well, and there's like a bunch of strikers being linked to Manchester United as well at this point. We'll see Rasmus Haaland or Harry Kane. There's always rumors out and about. Let me put this out there. I know you said that you think Manchester City are definitely finishing first. If Harry Kane signs for Manchester United, would you change your mind?
Probably still not. But maybe.
Would you change them to second instead of, I'm assuming?
Yeah, well, so I have Arsenal at second at the moment. I think if Kane does go to United, especially with, if Kane goes to United, you say Onana, their Mount at United, with the team United have, I think that makes it a three-horse race. And so things get a little bit tighter at the top there about how that all turns out, as opposed to the moment. I think City's probably got it. Arsenal will potentially push them, but once again, you know, do they have the squad depth? They are playing Europe this year, unlike last year. So that they did falter last year with the
They did play in the Europa League last year and made it to the semi, so they did have European football, and there will be a higher quality of opposition in the Champions League, definitely. But I'm just like, you know, the bodies are there for United. The depth of the squad is not the issue, because they've always had too many players.
I think that's the thing I see with, especially if Kane comes to United, is that United now becomes viable because they're going to be scoring goals as well, and they have the players to deal with everything the season throws at them. Arsenal, I think, already have the first 11 is good enough. It's better on paper than the rest, but do they have the squad to keep that going, to keep those, to do on that? And then City has all of the above, so.
Yeah, I think if you have a bona fide striker, it also opens up Jadon Sancho, because he seems to be always looking for a striker to, like, feed.
Yeah.
And you're basically, when Marcus Rashford isn't playing, like, United are terrible in attack. Just even having even if Kane is, even if you only get the one striker in Kane, like Marcus Rashford can deputize for him quite easily.
Yeah.
You know, as a like when he's not you know, and we have players who can cover the left-hand side in that situation when if Marcus Rashford needs to. And Anthony Martial is apparently not leaving.
Oh, good. Yeah, as I say, you got
And
Martial as well,
Ahmad,
who still seems to be floating around. So
when he's not injured, he contributes well, and there's Ahmad Diallo as well. Um, so there's definitely, and obviously Alejandro Garnacho was a World Cup winner. So
oh yeah,
even at 19.
there you go. So yeah, you got
So
decent forwards. You say you just need that
we just
experienced
need a striker.
striker. Yeah,
An experienced out and out striker. Like I don't know if we'll get one. Like, and obviously I'm putting in Manchester United just because I don't want City to be the first team to get 4 in a row. And if I'm gonna pick a team that's not City, I may as well pick Manchester United.
fair enough.
So that's gonna be my prediction. But yeah, I think it becomes a more realistic prospect if Manchester United get an out and out striker.
I mean, at the moment, I got
Like,
United
not
at third, so they say they get the out and out striker, things go a bit closer. But yeah, without that, I don't see them keeping in touch with Arsenal and City.
yeah.
But I think they have enough to.
I think I
stay
agree.
third,
Like,
so.
I don't think they'll be in the fight in, say, April. You know, they're not going to be in the running to win the league in April if they are not there. If they don't get a striker.
Yeah.
Now, moving on from Manchester United, we go to Newcastle United. Newly Champions Leagued. They've brought in Harvey Barnes from Leicester and Sandro Tonali from Milan. Yakuba Minte from Odense Bold Club, who I don't know much about, to be honest. But they've already had a decent squad. They're apparently looking to sign Kvaratskhelia, the Georgian player from Napoli, as well, for 100 million. Yeah, there's rumors coming in. Like Newcastle United, I think will get 1 or 2 more players. Like maybe if they get another marquee $100 million signing in the forward line, that's gonna change everything about this team. But if they get even 1 or 2 good squad players, because they're gonna be in the Champions League this season. Yeah, I can see them doing quite well again. I think they can maintain their position because Newcastle are not going to be overwhelmed. They've been in the Champions League before as a club, maybe not the squad, and Eddie Howe, I think, is a good manager, definitely.
Yes.
And he's proven, like every season at Newcastle, he just proves more and more how good he is. I think they're just gonna remain fourth place for Newcastle. I don't think they're going down.
No. That's where I had them as well, was fourth.
That defense is just very, very good.
Yes. So maybe they need a few more bodies in there, and maybe the Champions League football will stretch their squad a bit. But as you say, they're still transfer window. Sure, they're going to get more bodies into there.
They have money to burn.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't feel like they're going to be wanting there. And if they need more when they get to January, I'm sure they'll be opening up that checkbook again and getting the more that they need. So yeah. I see them maintaining that fourth.
Absolutely, I agree. Next up, we have Nottingham Forest. Sad news for them. Trevor Francis, a club legend who just passed away, Britain's first $1 million football player.
No.
They've also had some hard news at the club. Toffolo charged with 365 alleged betting breaches. We didn't mention about Ivan Toney as when we talked about Brentford. He start playing at the beginning of the season because he's banned for the first 6 months of the season. For bets. I think gambling addiction is a real problem in football, and along with other addictions, there's And I think with Tony, I accept the ban. I think that punishment needs to be there, like ban from playing. But as Thomas Frank said, by taking Tony away from the club, he can't practice, he can't train, and he can't come in. The doctors and terrorists, and the counselors, you're removing his support structure, and you're like leaving him even more vulnerable. Why? He just said he's done a bad thing, but now why can't we help him become better and stop prevent him from doing that bad thing? Because
exactly.
you're leaving him isolated, and this is not gonna like the punishment of not playing. That's fine, but also, the other side of it, it just means it's harder for him to come out the other side,
Exactly.
which I definitely agree with.
Yeah, I agree with that. They need to. I can sort of understand that they want to, like, if his problems, come from these on the contact he's having, then you want to cut that all off. But at the same time, you've got to at least put some support structures in, and cutting him off from the club sort of take that away.
I understand that they don't want him.
Yeah.
I understand that footballers, they don't want someone who, because he cooperated quite well with the authorities. If somebody's always denying it had to be caught through investigations, and there's evidence that they're trying to manipulate other players into betting and all that, I understand why you want to keep them away, but I don't think there's any suggestion that Ivan Toney was doing that. And so I think that was very. So I think you can have some sort of code of conduct and like guidelines for Forrest, and Forrest will have to kind of show the FA like, look, we're making sure he's getting help and he's training, but also we are monitoring him so that he's not falling back into bad habits, and we're trying to help him through, rather than he's just coming in, we don't know if he's talking to other players, what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta let the support structures there, but you gotta provide that, and the club seems, the club should be able to do that. And if they're not doing that, it's a different story. But I think I'm with you that you've got to let the club, the club's the place that is going to be able to help them get out the other side.
To help him rehabilitate himself. Now, that aside, Nottingham Forest still have a very good team. I think that squad, Keylor Navas is one of, I think, the best goalkeepers in the world. When he came there last season, obviously he's not there anymore, but they've got Wayne Hennessy. They've still got Felipe, who came in the transfer window. They've got John Joe Shelby. They've got Andre Ayew, and of course they have the best striker in the league, Chris Wood.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they're not going to be relegated. Burnley got relegated because they got rid of Dyche and Wood, and I will stand on that die on that hill.
Exactly.
And Nottingham Forest, as long as you have Chris Wood, you won't be relegated.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's true.
And so I think I believe I said I thought Burnley was going to be 16th. I think Nottingham Forest will be 17th. I think they're just going to avoid relegation.
I think I had Burnley at 17th, but I had put Forest at 16th because it's basically the things we said. They've got a decent squad. They've definitely got good players in there, and now they've got Chris Wood. So, I mean,
and those good players are now another season together, and I think Steve Cooper is a really, really good manager.
Yeah.
Really, really good, and I'm glad he managed to not be relegated and survive. So
after us bagging them last year, I think Forest showed that.
I did not bag them last year. I predicted they would stay up.
I think one of us didn't, but hey.
It wasn't me.
One of us was wrong.
Anyways, moving on from Nottingham Forest, we got to the Blades, Sheffield United. Obviously, incredible achievement to get straight back up
Yeah.
to the Premier League. This club and group of players have some Premier League experience. They haven't gotten many players in from the transfer window. Their squad, I feel like, largely still championship caliber. I'm not optimistic about Sheffield Wednesday.
No.
Excuse me. I think they are going to be relegated. They're gonna finish 19th, in my opinion.
I had them relegated as well. I think I ended up with 18th. Just above Everton, but yeah. As I say, I think
They might even. I will say this now: Sheffield United and Everton, who I predict to be relegated, might even have more than 35 points.
Yeah.
And still relegated. Maybe one of them might even have more than 40 points.
I think there'll be a reasonably close amount of points between, say, Forest, Burnley, Sheffield United, and Everton. As you say, it's possibly going to be in the mid to high 30s for all of them. But yeah, I've got Sheffield United. As I say, I was umming over Burnley, but if I decide on that Burnley surviving, then Sheffield United's the one that's going down. So
yeah. Now, moving on from Sheffield United, we go back to North London, where we started. We get Tottenham Hotspur. They've got in a bunch of players, including a new manager. They've got James Maddison from Leicester.
Yeah.
Pedro Porro from Sporting. Dejan Kulusevski from Juventus. And a few other players, Guglielmo Vicario, who I'm not too sure, I'm not that acquainted with, and Menor Solomon from Shakhtar Donetsk. They've gotten a bunch of new players. Like, I think Ange Postecoglou is a really good manager, but he's come into a very difficult season. I can't see them. Like, I predicted Chelsea would finish 6th just because they have no European football, and I also think Spurs are not going to have Harry Kane play.
Yeah, that's going to be the big question mark, really. Yeah. Is there going to be a Kane or not? But very unlikely that he will play for Spurs.
Yeah. And so I think Spurs, because I've predicted Villa to finish 7th and Chelsea to finish 6th. But I think I'm going to adjust that. I know I said Villa would be the best of the rest. I think if they have a deep Europa run, which I feel more and more is what's likely for Villa, I think they're going to finish 8th. I think Spurs are going to finish 7th under Chelsea. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if those two clubs swapped around. And I also wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea and Spurs, one of those two clubs, were to finish 5th above Liverpool. I'm just predicting Spurs will finish 7th just based on what's there. And it's very difficult for me. I know what Mauricio Pochettino is going to do at Chelsea because he's an experienced Premier League manager. And he's been at 2 different clubs with 2 different groups of players. So I know what I know he's capable of being a good manager in the Premier League. And I don't know. It's very tough in your first season in the Premier League. I mean, I predicted Ten Hag was going to finish 6th last season.
Yeah. I mean, I've got Spurs at 7th as well. Though a little bit of that, is going to be... There's probably a large error rate applied to that based on, Kane playing, not playing, assuming not. But then, what do they do with all that Kane money that they get? And how much Kane money do they get? Since it's getting less and, time's running out on his contract, so clubs may not be willing to fork out a whole heap to get him now if they can just wait a year and get him next year for free. So Yeah. But at the moment,
Yeah.
going 7th. Spurs 7th, so the bottom of the quote-unquote big clubs.
Yeah.
Seemed about right. Depending, you say, what happens with Kane, but I'm assuming he's moving on, and then anybody they get in, is probably coming from outside the Premier League, and therefore will take a season or two, which will mean it's falling on Richarlison to lead the line for the majority of the season, which he can do. But
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be producing the goal level of that, which means we're back to Son as well, to more pressure on him to get goals. So
Yeah. It's a tough situation for him if he loses Kane. If Kane stays, they'll finish 5th. I'm just saying that. Because it's Kane.
If Kane stays, that they're good for probably a spot or two. So it'd be interesting. I think it'll make it a lot more competitive in my middle bracket, which is sort of the Newcastle down to Aston Villa, maybe Fulham sort of level. So they'll push.
Spurs have a
Spurs
relatively more refreshed squad than Liverpool. And just Kane is worth so many points in a season. But yeah, I think, like I said, I am assuming Kane is going to leave probably to Bayern Munich, so that's why I predict they're going to be 7th.
Yeah, agree.
Next up, we have West Ham United, Europa Conference League champions, vanquishers of Jose Mourinho.
So sad,
but
also so
many,
funny.
many things. I think West Ham have played West Ham have a bunch of good players leave the club, including Declan Rice, who's probably the most important player in the team.
Yeah.
They've got Denny. They haven't gotten anyone new in so far.
No.
I don't know if David Moyes will stay. I could even see him at some point leave to go and try and help keep Everton back up.
Yeah. That is potentially
league. West Ham do have money, so they can get players in. So
I think they've been trying to get Gallagher from Chelsea, and so far.
And Goretzka from Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
And look, they're in the Europa League. They can attract players. If you give David Moyes a decent squad, he will get you back up the table. I could see West Ham get back up to 9th if David Moyes gets some good players. But they had a decent squad anyway. They just had a down year.
Yep.
Really. Because working a bit backwards. Who did I have finishing 5th? We've got Wolves and West Ham left. I don't think I picked a 50. I think I'm left with 15th and 14th. Because I predicted Brentford would be 9th, and I predicted that Fulham would remain 10th, and Chelsea. Fulham would remain 10th. Brighton would go down to 12th, and I think I said that Crystal Palace would be 11th because that's just where they always finish. I don't know who I had at 13th. I think I had AFC Bournemouth at 15th. Like they were just staying in that position. So I've got 13th and 14th left. It's Wolves and West Ham. Half a dozen one way, 6 the other. I think West Ham are not going to have as good a squad as Wolves. And Wolves probably also have a better manager. So, okay, West Ham will finish 14th. There you go. Easy. I have to do it by elimination. Like, that's the only position left. Because Wolves are going to finish above them, I think.
Yeah. I had West Ham at 13th. basically for the same reasons you did, which is, as far as I can tell, I had 10th and 13th left on my list, and Wolves are a better team than
So
West
you're
Ham.
going to put them 10th, and I'm going to put Wolves at 14th. Let's just have a quick gander at Wolves' transfer business. They've gotten in Matt Doherty, Boubacar Traore, and Tom King from Northampton Town. They had a bunch of players coming in the January window, as we suspected they would. Had a few players go out on loan. Nobody who I think is other than Nathan Collins, who I think is a really good player. And Connor Cody. Nathan Collins, Connor Cody, and Ruben Nieves. Okay, they've had a decent amount of good players leave.
Yeah.
So 13th is not unfair. They've got a good manager. They're not like I don't think they'll finish much higher. And Matt Doherty returning.
Jimenez was leaving as well, yeah?
Yeah, Jimenez is possibly leaving as well.
Yeah, so that's...
Yeah,
you think about it, big holes there, but...
Yeah, I think that does it for me. I think I'm happy with 13th for Wolves. It makes sense. It fits in the rest of the pattern. Like with Aston Villa, I slowly realized I overrated them and I had to push them down. I think Wolves, that's fair. They're not going to finish much lower. I think they'll be higher than the teams below them that I've placed as well. I'm happy with my. So if I
was going to drop them down to 12th, which bumps Crystal Palace and Brentford up. So
it's not too different.
It's not too different. But I mean, I sort of feel I thought Aston Villa was the best of the rest. Wolves are part of the rest for me. So there's sort of a clump of teams, Aston Villa down to sort of Brighton level, which is at the moment 8th through the 14th, which is reasonable chunk of teams, which are almost interchangeable. Like, they will all compete with each other. They could potentially take a draw or win off a top team when they're having good days. They will be well away from relegation, and the order that they occupy that mid-table will just depend on what kind of year they're having. So it's trying to sort those lot into what seems the order that they'll come out at. But I wouldn't be surprised anywhere in that sort of six-ish teams. Is it 1, 2, 3, 6 or 7 teams? Yeah, what order they come out at, they could all.
Yeah, I mean, if we summarize it, I went Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And you had
City, Arsenal, United, Newcastle, then Chelsea.
Yep. I then said Chelsea would finish 6th, Spurs 7th, and Aston Villa 8th. Followed by Brentford and Fulham.
So I think I had Liverpool, Spurs. I'm pretty sure I had at 6th and 7th, Aston Villa at 8th. I think I had Fulham at 9th, and then I've moved Crystal Palace up to 10th and Brentford to 11th.
Yeah, and I think I said Crystal Palace 11th. Just to remain the same, and who did I say was going to be 12th? Brighton was going to be 12th. 13th I said was going to be I just said it, Wolves, and 15th was going to be West Ham.
I just realised I'd said Brighton was 13th because it's one below you. So yeah, the same. Was it Brentford 11th? So West Ham 12th, I just said. And then Brighton, and then Brighton 13th, and then whoever else I've missed in there.
You've got Wolves at 14th?
Wolves at 14th, yes, that's right.
And who was your 15th? West Ham?
No, West Ham was Wolves was 12th, West Ham was 14th.
Yep, and so who's your 15th?
Bournemouth, and then
Bournemouth?
Forest, Burnley, stay up, and then Sheffield United, Everton, and Luton Town to go down.
Yeah, so I had Bournemouth at 16th, Forest at 17th, and Burnley at 18th, and then Sheffield United at 19th, and Luton Town at 20th. Yep. So our relegation is more or less the same, and the order is slightly different.
Most of our order changes is through that mid pack, but as I say, I wouldn't be surprised at any order that mid pack comes out at. So
yeah, it's notoriously difficult to predict that mid pack. I mean, in theory, even like, because I'm predicting Everton to get relegated, like it could be West Ham instead, depending on what happens. It could be Bournemouth if the new manager doesn't do well. It's very everything's topsy-turvy in the Premier League, and there's still a whole 3 weeks before. There's a whole month before the transfer window ends. A lot can change in that time.
A lot can change. Yes, exactly.
So, but yeah, I'm happy with the predictions I've made. It actually made sense, and like it like pitched up correctly. And just before we go, we have to shout out the White Ferns, first ever New Zealand team to win at the Football World Cup.
Yes, it was great. I was there. It was such a great time.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, when the penalty was missed, I was like squeaky bum time, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that
worked
last 9 minutes of added time in the crowd. Oh, the nerves going around the crowd was insane. As everybody just willed the ref to blow full time, especially because it ended up being, I think, about
9 minutes of added time.
Well, there was 2 VAR checks during the second half.
Yeah. It was fair. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't unfair. It's just like, wow, there was so much.
And it's just, especially when she then adds an extra about minute and a half on the end. That time is just, you're like, it's 9 minutes, come on, where's our whistle? We need our whistle. And Norway's just piling on the attacks as they just throw everything forward that they can. So,
yeah.
See tonight, unfortunately, the Ferns haven't backed up that great win. They went and lost to the Philippines 1-0. So
yeah, but shout out to the Philippines. They're also get their first ever World Cup victory.
I think this is their first. This is the first time. First senior
Philippines
team to make it to a World Cup ever. So it's big time for them. They've made it here. They scored a goal and they won a match. So they had to do that bit against the football Ferns, but hey, such is life.
Yeah, exactly. Indeed, such is life. But
it's been an awesome season. Like, so very, very good. The tournament, should say. Like, it's just been to 3 games now, and all of them being so much fun.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it looks, the crowd, like this, I highly recommend to anybody who's still able to get tickets, and there are still tickets available in the New Zealand venues, especially if you're in Auckland. There is nothing like Eden Park when it's full for a football game.
I was there on Monday night, which was Italy, Argentina, and that was like 30,000 plus fans. So 32,000 fans, something like that. And that was an awesome atmosphere. Argentinian fans, Italian fans just going nuts. And it was just, you're right.
Yeah.
A packed Eden Park cannot be beaten. It is the best place to watch any sport. Yeah, a packed Eden Park is the best stadium in the country by miles for any sport. It's just that it's very rarely packed. That being, like, I will die on the hill that both North Harbour Stadium and Mount Smart Stadium is better for watching football codes. Yeah. Just because you're closer to the action, and they both have their own great atmosphere when you go to watch the games there. But Eden Park can't be beat. I think the thing about Mount Smart and Albany is that you don't need a full crowd there to get that great atmosphere. Like, you're closer in, everything's just there.
Even like baseball games, which have like 1,000 fans at Albany, it's a great atmosphere.
It's a great atmosphere. Well, yeah, Eden Park, if you don't have it full, it just can feel very empty. But once it's full, it's a next level. It really is that, hit or miss sort of stadium. You get a critical mass of fans there, and it's beyond belief. But underneath that, and you may as well have had the game at, say, Mount Smart or Albany, and it would have been a much more entertaining time.
Sorry, I was just going to say shout out to the fans who did go, because Eden Park has the highest attendance for any sport, is now that Women's World Cup opener. For the White Ferns against...
Yeah.
I think for any match, isn't it? For any sporting event.
No, rugby and cricket would have more. It was 42,000, so most rugby matches have more than that. Well, most All Blacks matches have more than that, and at the very least, some Black Caps matches have matched that or past.
Yeah, I'm sure World Cup semis, for example, would have.
The World Cup final, Rugby World Cup final, at Eden Park was 60,000. So
right.
Which
okay.
I think is the record in New Zealand. So. But they had a whole heap of temporary and seating up for that one.
Yeah. I think it can. I think the max capacity is 48,000 when you don't have that temporary.
Yes, like that, 50,000 around that. So
yeah,
but yeah, it was the highest. I think each of the first two games, the football Ferns versus Norway and USA versus Vietnam, were the two highest attended football matches in New Zealand ever. No other qualifiers needed, just only one being football matches. And I'd say as long as you take out cricket and rugby, you probably.
Because we had gone to the other. We had gone to the other most well-attended football match in New Zealand in 2009 in Wellington.
The Bahrain game, so that was great. So yeah, I've seen both what I would call the most critical goals of New Zealand football in recent memory live, which is Rory Fallon's goal to send us to South Africa, and then Hannah Wilkinson's goal to beat Norway. So
definitely.
But yeah, the three matches at Eden Park have so far were basically sellouts. So that's the football Ferns one, the USA one, and even the Argentina Italy one. So it's slightly downgraded, so from I think it was about 43,000 to 41,000 for the USA game, down to about 32,000 on Monday night for the Italian-Argentinian game. But still, those are pretty high numbers for any sports attendance in New Zealand, especially if you take out rugby or cricket, like the two actual top sports. And even then, those are beating any sporting event that's not, All Blacks, Black Caps, basically. And the Rugby World Cup, Women's World Cup final last year, or the Women's Games last year at the World Cup. And so it's pretty good work, really.
Definitely. And I think definitely if you are in New Zealand, especially, do go and watch. We are definitely going to talk about the tournament. We've been watching as many games as we can, and as you can see, the Fool's gone to games. I am hopefully going to be going to games next week myself. So we are hoping to have hoping to review the tournament after the group stages are over. Hopefully we'll see the White Ferns there.
I've got tickets to the I'm being optimistic still, even after the loss to the Philippines, for being top of Group A. That's the Eden Park round of 16 game. So that. Other thing to mention is our fantasy Premier League draft will be on the 4th of August, which is Friday week. So I'll get sign-ups up for that soon and post it up.
And definitely look to join. It's going to be a great year, great season. Thank you very much for listening so far, and you've come to the end, and we wish you all the best, and go the Football Ferns, yes.
Yes, go the Football Ferns.
Catch you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. NineSixFourTwo Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.